What's going on, everybody? GiraffeAnatomy here, and today I'm coming at you with a hunter build guide. We're going to talk all about hunters, how to build them, their items here. It is January of 2023 in this video. There will be some changes coming up here in Season 10, but as of right now, we're going to go over the current builds that hunters are using. Smite World Championship is going on right now. People are watching them, checking them out, and I basically got a message in our Smite dojo asking about hunter builds, specifically X-Ball they were asking about, and they told us, hey, I saw a build from a pro player, I've seen a build from a streamer, which one do I use? Why do I use it? They weren't secure in knowing what to build, why I'm building what I'm building, right? They're just seeing people build these things. They don't really know why. Why am I building this? What is the purpose of building this one before that one, right? So really quick, I'm going to show you a screenshot he sent to us on the builds that he was looking at. There's one in purple and one in blue. I'm colorblind, so these look the same to me, but I can still kind of tell them apart. This is the purple build, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or this, like, at the end. And then the other build is, the blue one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in these orders. And he's like, are these good builds? Why am I building this? I just kind of ripped these off of some streamers. What's going on? And I will let you know, he is talking about Arena and Slash specifically, right? So this video is going to cater more towards casual players and people that play Arena and Slash versus Conquest. There's a different build order in Conquest. There's a reason you build certain ways in Conquest. It's because of power spikes. It's because you're normally like alone and laning a lot of the times, and ganks can happen and stuff, but you're not necessarily near your teammates until the end. You need to worry about other objectives in like Fire Giant and things like that in that game mode versus Slash and things. Sure, there's an Apotheosis and there's the Juggernauts and stuff, but I'm basically going to cater towards Arena and Slash. We're going to talk about how and why to build in Arena and Slash as a hunter and what order. And looking at this, I can already see some issues on like why you would build this or how this would translate into an Arena or a Slash game, and neither of them look good. Basically they're not the best, and I get X-Ball, and I'm going to explain why you're seeing what you're seeing on the screen here, and then I'm going to explain some cookie cutter hunter builds that you can use right now, and then I'm going to explain how to think and build and how to break the build down into like different sections, right? So as of right now, this is what you're seeing on your screen, and you're seeing zoomed in a little too far on that bad boy. You're seeing this right here, right? This is the starter, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, for this. So let's talk about these builds that we see here. Then we'll get into how to actually build hunters and why you build what you build. For Arena, Death Toll on X-Ball is fine. Why do you get Death Toll? Because Death Toll actually has a pretty good passive for X-Blanque. X-Blanque likes to have mana because of his bolos and his one. If you have a mana heavy or mana needy hunter, especially early game, Death Toll will help you solve that issue. So really quick, let me talk about X-Ball real quick and why he likes to build it. His bolos, right, use mana. If you pop your one and you head out here and you start using it, especially early game, your mana is going to drain fast. Look at that. With every single hit, my mana is draining. And after a wave or two, you're not going to have any mana as X-Ball, especially early game. I'm already level 20. That's why he has a lot, but you have a little bit less early game, right? So, what you want to do is get Death Toll, because hitting an enemy with a basic attack restores 2 health and 1 mana and 1% of your maximum mana, right? So this is going to solve that mana hungry problem. So hunters, the reason you're getting something like Death Toll early game is because look at the sustain on my mana now with just Death Toll as an item. That is why you're getting Death Toll. It's to sustain some sort of ability that you're using or your clear early game with hunters. That's the biggest thing for Death Toll, and why you would get it over something like Hunter's Cow is the sustain it helps provide. Gods I can think off of the top of my head. X-Ball is one with his bolos. You can kind of have your one procced a lot more, clear the lane faster. you can also Chernabog. There we go. Name blanked for a second. Chernabog, very, very mana hungry. He's throwing out his 1 and his 2 to pop it and everything like that. He's mana intensive early game. It's really hard to keep farming with him when you always have to back because you have no mana. So getting something like Death Toll will help him early game, right? So that's why you're getting something like Death Toll early game. Where this build starts to sort of deviate, and I'll show you guys here in a sec. Bloodforge. The only time I would get Bloodforge this early is in something like Assault, where it matters, where you're in lane for a while, getting a kill will give you that shield. The biggest thing about Bloodforge is it gives you a shield of health after you get a kill. I know people go Bloodforge early. Honestly, if you're new to the game, I would ignore this. I would ignore Bloodforge unless you are an ability-based hunter, like an Uller or a Hou-Yi or something like that, that can better utilize like a Bloodforge, and something like that. And you don't care as much about attack speed because you can use your abilities, right? That's the point. You're getting no attack speed out of this. It's just power plus that passive and some lifesteal, right? So that's the biggest thing. What you see here with 1, 2, 3, you normally go your starter, something that's lifesteal, whether you stack it or get it, because you need lifesteal to sustain yourself in lane. That's why you see Bloodforge here, because it gives you the lifesteal that you're looking for. I will go back down to here and show you real quick. Do I even have it on him? Nope. Bloodforge. So the big thing is that 15% lifesteal, right? And then if you get a kill, you get 200 health, like a shield, plus 10 per player level for 20 seconds. It's really good when you're getting in like a fight or a scrap in lane and stuff with Conquest. It could be good in arena because you're getting in a lot of fights, and slash because you're fighting all the time. The thing is, I see this as more of a late game item, and you will have a better power curve if you build this later rather than earlier if you're just starting out, and things like that. If you can get the kill and secure the kill early game, that's why he has something like Bloodforge so early, is because you get the kill, you get the shield health. It'll allow you to kind of get out. It can let you be a little bit more aggressive early game to get a kill. But I would only do Bloodforge on early game ability based hunters. That's when you'd want something like that. So let's talk about these other ones here. So he's basically building this 2, 3. Executioner is good because of penetration. Kins is good because of penetration here. So he builds these 3 because you basically you're trying to get attack speed and power most of the time. When you're thinking of a hunter, you're thinking of using their basic attacks as effectively as possible, unless they are an ability-based hunter. But we're going to talk about auto attack hunters because it's the majority of them, and almost any hunter can kind of be built auto attack and be okay, right? So you're looking for attack speed and penetration, and you either get penetration by and I'll show you real quick here. Go back to here. When we get into this tree, right, you either reduce somebody's physical protection or you build penetration to get through their protection, right? So Executioner takes away their physical protection. The way this works, and I'll turn these off, is you hit harder each time because you're taking away their protections. And once it fully stacks, you cap out at it, right? So there's no indicator, but it'll tell you, right? When you hit them first, it's 115. When you hit them a second time, it's 117. Now 119, now 121, and 122. And then it caps out at 122 because every time you hit them, the way this works is it's a maximum of 4 stacks on a single target. You reduce their protection by 7% for 3 seconds, and you can stack that. This is a great shredding item. That's why people build Executioners, right? Because after the 3rd or 4th hit, you're doing a lot more damage per hit, right? At that 127 versus, something like guess it's still stacked on him. 83, 86, 89, 92, 96, 96, 96, right? Better than that 80 that we had before, that 80ish, right? Actually don't know what it was. 83, yeah. Yeah, much better than the 83. at first. So you do this because if you're single target bursting down, you will kill them. And the reason why you build attack speed, right? You build a lot of attack speed items, like the kin size, right? Like I'll just throw in a bunch of attack speed stuff real quick. Try not to build crit so you understand why you're building like a attack speed and stuff. It's another attack speed item I can build. This is good enough, whatever. The reason you build attack speed is because the faster you can get that number up to the number you want, 189, right? The more damage you're going to be doing to people. So that's why you're building something like Executioner and Kins. And Kins is also a good shredding item because it's doing all that extra damage. You see those yellow numbers, 72, 72, 72? That's a Kin size going to work because of its passive. On basic attack hits, you deal 3% of the target's maximum health. It's really good on tanks, frontliners, supports. They're going to be in your face. If they're going to be diving you as the hunter, you want to be able to get rid of them and shred them. Executioner and Kin size, really, really good penetration options, right? And if you can build... we'll talk about this later, the penetration tree. Basically, your holy trifecta right now of penetration as a hunter. It's going to be Silver Branch Bow, it's going to be Executioner, and it's going to be Kin size. If you could build 2 of these 3, or in an ideal world, 3 of these 3, almost nothing's going to be able to stop you, right? You're going to be able to shred. You're not going to have that problem where someone's running at you and you can't do anything about it. If you hold left click, that person's going to run away so freaking fast because you shred the crap out of them. Doesn't matter how many protections they have, you will shred them with those 3 items, right? And as long as the rest of your build's good, to synergize with those 3 items, you will be fine. So let's continue on to this build. He caps this off with Atalanta's Bow and Aussie. All right, so with a build like this, the reason he's doing Atalanta's Bow is to get more lifesteal. He is not doing it for the crit. Oh, I'm not showing you guys. So he caps this off with Atalanta's Bow and Aussie. Or Toxic Blade. Honestly, as a hunter, don't go Toxic Blade right now. There is a reason why people build it at a high level, but starting out, you should be trying to do damage. Toxic Blade takes too much away from hunters right now to be useful. You should be trying to burst them down before they can heal, basically, right? If you need anti-heal, it is better to go Shadow Steel crit right now than to build a Toxic Blade. The way he's doing this, though, I get what he's doing with Bloodforge. You get a kill, you have a little bit extra health, you know. Like I get where he's coming from, but this is not going to be an optimal build for a newer player, right? Especially if you're playing like Arena or Slash or something. There's a different kind of power curve in Arena and Slash, and we'll talk about that in a second when we talk about stacking. But really what I would do is I wouldn't build this first, and if you're going to build something like this, you put it in you front end it, right? Instead of doing the lifesteal here, I would use Atalanta's lifesteal plus Aussie. But honestly, I wouldn't even build Aussie unless you're building Transcendence right now. I don't think it's that good enough of an item. There are better lifesteal. If you want lifesteal in your build as a hunter, normally lifesteal is valued in Conquest because you can stay in lane, farm, it's sustain. So you want to do something like a Transcendence Aussie. So you want to start stacking your items in lane, and you want to be able to heal and keep your health up in case you get poked out or something. You want to be able to hit some minions, get your health back up, stay in your lane, farm, don't miss XP. That's the reason people build lifesteal. You normally want it earlier on in your build too, because that's what keeps you farming, right? Instead of towards the end. In the end, it's like, sure, you can build it, and he probably did this because he did this, and this, and then he realized, I can't sustain myself in a fight right now. I'm not getting the kills. So I need to build lifesteal to sustain in a fight. And that's why he did like an Aussie, Atalanta's or Aussie. He probably was like, oh, I'm getting in a fight and I'm leaving every fight with like no health, or I'm dying. So I need lifesteal so I can stay in a fight, kill someone, and still come out at like half or full health, right? The Atalanta's Bow is really good when it comes to crit builds and implementing lifesteal because it gives you 10% of that physical lifesteal, right? And if you get a kill or an assist on an enemy god, it helps you run down the rest of the team. You get that Atalanta's agility for 10 seconds. So it increases your attack speed by 20%, decreases the movement penalty for attacking, backpedaling, and strafing. So basically, he's not doing Atalanta's bow for the crit chance, the 20% crit chance. That's just like a cherry on top. He's really doing it for the passive and the lifesteal. That's what he's using this for, right? So I'll show you what this looks like. When you kill somebody, you'll get Atalanta's agility. Backpedaling and strafing, your movement penalty is reduced, right? So you get increased attack speed and reduced movement penalties. So he's basically doing this for team fight. So when you do this, you get Atalanta's agility. He has 10 seconds of this. You can see that I'm at like 2.5 attack speed now because of this, right? So yeah, so that's what he's using that Atalanta's bow for. I just find the build that he's having, see now I'm back down to 2.33 because I don't have Atalanta's passive stacked. There's better builds. There's at the end of the day, I'm going through this and telling you like, oh, this guy built this here. I'm explaining to you like why he built what he built to sort of set the base for telling you to ignore that and to tell you this is how you should build, right? So we talked about this first one. Let's talk about the second one real quick. Then we'll get into like actual builds that are useful. This second build, I understand because of X-Ball. This is a team fight oriented build. It's oriented for X-Ball because he can use like his ultimate's kind of useless. But once you get Fail Not, now you can like use your ultimate aggressively, sort like you still kind of use it aggressively, but he's basically going like a full crit chunk build with this. So let's build this second one that's here, which is the Dev Gauntlet, the Shadow Steel. Like I get what he's doing here. Hold on, let me go back to here. Death Toll again for the sustain. Dev Gauntlet is classic for hunters right now because if you want lifesteal, get Dev Gauntlet, stack it. Get it stacked. In Arena and Slash, it's a little bit harder to do because Arena you're competing for the minions, and it is very hard for you if you have like 2 mages on your team and or another hunter or something, and they're all trying to stack. Everyone's trying to kill those minions, and you won't get online until like halfway through Arena. So we'll talk about Arena builds versus Slash builds. In Slash, you can definitely stack 100%. In Conquest, definitely stack. And doing this for X-Ball, getting this. And that will give you sustain. It'll allow you to stack. Once Dev Gauntlet is fully built, you're going to be able to chunk and have lifesteal and be good to go. Shadow Steel is basically for anti-heal. And it is a good anti-heal item. If you need to go anti-heal as a hunter, and with X-Ball, it's okay because of like the way you can hit people with like your bolos and stuff. Go Shadow Steel. Fail Not is to help Shadow Steel crit because one crit item, the crit isn't as consistent, but with a second crit item, you always, if you're going to get a crit item, get 2. Period. That's like the rule. Don't just go 1 crit item unless, like he did up here, you're just doing it for like it's passive or for flavor or something, or like throw a random wind demon in there because that random crit will activate its passive, right? We'll talk about that in a second, but Fail Not gives you that when you activate your ultimate, you're getting that extra crit and everything like that too. XE, and this because he doesn't have attack speed with this build. So let's look at this build a little bit in depth. Let's go here. Oh, so let's sell all our crap. Let's look at the second build, and then we'll get into like better builds, basically. And he went XE, which is fine. Then he went the Heavy Executioner because, like, why are you seeing a Heavy Executioner on a hunter? You almost never should see that, because hunters should technically be trying to get over the, like, as much attack speed as possible. And right now, your attack speed cannot exceed 1.9 if you're using Heavy Executioner. The reason he does this is because he knows he's going Deathbringer. So he's going to do this, and then he's going to get Deathbringer, and his attack speed is under that. But because of that, basic attacks against an enemy reduce your target's physical protection by 17.5% for 3 seconds. like maximum of 2 stacks. So it takes less stacks to get that full, like a 33 or something percent reduction in protections. So with something like this, your attack speed is much slower, but if you can hit your shots, 1, 2, see how I went from 377 to 445 on the crits there? That's because it only takes 2 hits, right? This is your first hit, second, third, right? So your third's gonna have that full debuff from this. So 17.5%, do it again. He doesn't have to build any other really the weird thing about this build is there's no other penetration in this build. It is this. It's just like a flat 30 something percent reduction for 3 seconds. So I get why he's building this. I just find this, the only reason I'm telling you that the second build I think is a little bit better than the first one that he had. It makes more sense and it flows more, and you can definitely use this in like a conquest or even an arena or slash if you can get the stacks on Dev Gauntlet. This is more natural, a more natural curve, right? With this, realize why you're using Fail Not. Oh, so Fail Not does have the 10% pen, so he's getting 10% from this plus the reduction on this. He doesn't need Silver Branch because Heavy Executioner. And then what you want to do is once you're fully done, I'm assuming he upgrades to Temper here. 30% attack speed. Yeah, he probably tries to get as close to the 1.9 without getting over. And I'm assuming if he needs more lifesteal to synergize with this, you go Death's Embrace. Go Death's Temper if you want to like really run people down, get those temper stacks. With those temper stacks, you're going to be chunking the crap out of people with an extra 3.5% increased basic attack damage for 10 seconds for each stack of temper, up to a stack of 10. So something like this, yeah, see these chunks, and just wait until you get the temper stacks on it, right? So yeah, so this is more of a, I would say this is a better build than the first one. Especially in arena and slash, you can do something like this. You'll have your lifesteal, you'll have your sustain, you have anti-heal, you have crit with Deathbringer, right? And then with Heavy Executioner, it synergizes really well to just 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm already chunking him as much as possible here. So let's look at what it's like with all the Death's Temper stacks real quick. I'm actually curious to see. Boop, boop, boop. It's like 890 something. That's a stack of 5. Yeah, you hit pretty hard with this. And let's go into the god bots. I'll show you. Bloop, bloop, bloop. 8-4. Oh my god. Yeah. This is basically the Chang'e build, right? You're going to surprise people with something like this once you get it online. So now we're at the full Death's Temper stacks. You're just getting, yeah, you're chunking a lot. You still have 1.9% attack speed, so it's pretty decent. Much better build than the first one. And so now let's talk about, now that we've gone over these two builds and talked about like, oh, what, like why do they build this? Like why do they build this in this order? Let's talk about why, and let's break down how to build a hunter, like why you build what you build and what you're doing. And for each game mode, we'll talk about conquest, we'll talk about arena and slash. Here, so we can get rid of this. This one, I'm very meh about this, especially putting this at the end here. I think this order's like a little out of whack. The purple build. If you're going to build one of these two, go with the blue one. It definitely chunks better. It has like a better power curve, I believe. Especially if you're playing slash and you can do Dev Gauntlet. Sure, do this one. In arena, maybe the Bloodforge. I don't know. I'm not a fan. All right. Let's talk about hunters and let's talk about building hunters and like what the hell you're doing, and why. There are 3 things you need to think about when you're building a hunter. It's going to be power, penetration, and crit. Those are the 3 things you're normally going to have. Well, technically 4. Power, attack speed, penetration, crit. You can normally only fit like 3 of them in a build. You can't do all 4 at once. It's really hard. You're going to want to specialize in some sort of way. Penetration is almost always the non-negotiable. You need penetration, period. End of story. So already, and penetration normally starts fitting here. So just to let you know, you're going to normally get a starter. You're normally going to get a stacking item. This is how you start most hunters always. You're going to get a starter item. The 2 starter items you're going to see the most are going to be Death Toll and Hunter's Cow, or Leather Cow into Hunter's Cow eventually. Hunter's Cow and Leather Cow is going to be your bread and butter in almost any game mode, like especially like Arena and Slash, because of its passive. If you look at its passive, when you're 55 units, within 55 units of an allied god, you gain 10% attack speed, right? So you're getting extra attack speed. This synergizes with something like Silver Branch Bow really well. It gives you attack speed. It starts getting you to that cap of 2.5% that you want to be around with a hunter. This Gilded Arrow, we'll talk about this later. I really like Gilded Arrow on crit builds, but we'll talk about kind of how to integrate that later. But your bread and butter is either going to be Death Toll or Leather's Cow to begin with. So you're going to get a starter item. Then you're going to get a stacking item. And the 2 stacking items you build are either Dev Gauntlet or Transcendence. Or Transcendence. These are the 2 items that you're going to build in your second slot. And the reason you build them so early is because you want to get them stacked as soon as possible. Both of these items need you to kill a certain amount of either gods or minions. And mostly minions most of the time, but killing an enemy god also gives you stacks. So Dev Gauntlet is 50 stacks, and Transcendence is also 50 stacks. So you need to kill like 50 minions to get it fully evolved. And when it's fully evolved, Transcendence, I'll show you what both of these are like fully evolved. Where are you? There you are. So at fully stacked, 65 physical power, flat 10 physical penetration, 25% lifesteal. Normally Dev Gauntlet will suffice when it comes to all of your lifesteal needs. You do not want to build like an Aussie after building Dev Gauntlet. Transcendence, however, doesn't give you lifesteal. It gives you a lot of physical power, and it gives you mana to sustain yourself. X-Ball normally likes to build Transcendence because of his bolos and things like that. And so it can help alleviate that stuff. Or a lot of ability-based hunters want to use Transcendence because you're spamming abilities all the time that uses mana, right? You're not always using your autos. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. If you're just doing straight auto attack most of the time, it'll be like Dev Gauntlet. You're more ability based, or you want to spam your abilities more, get Transcendence. Because Transcendence lacks lifesteal, if you do go Transcendence, that's when you should build Aussie, because Aussie does not have a lot of power, but it has attack speed and it has physical lifesteal, right? It has a 15% flat, plus it has, while below 35% health, you gain an additional 30% physical lifesteal for 5 seconds. So if you're not building Dev Gauntlet and you are just building Transcendence, right, you're going to want to get Aussie, because this basically does what Dev Gauntlet does in 2 items, but you're getting like a little bit more power out of it. So when this is fully stacked, did it stack already? Yeah, okay. So you can see my power is 165 because it's 35 plus I have 1,000 mana, and it converts 3% of your mana to power, right? Plus it's giving you a little bit of cooldown, so 10% cooldown. So this is going to be your start if you do trans. You have a starter item, and this can go between Death Toll or Hunter's Cow or even the Gilded Arrow, can be any of these, and then you do this. So this is going to solve your lifesteal and your power. Let's talk about the trans build first, and then what to put in these last 3 slots. So if you've done this, you now need penetration at this point. At this point in any game, people are going to have defense online. They're going to be harder to kill. You're not going to be able to kill defense with just this, with just power. So now you need to start thinking, what am I putting in this slot and this slot? And these should be your pen. Like, you should get pen on at least by this 4th, sometimes 3rd, 4th, depending on like how you build. Building Executioner here is solid, right? It's a solid option. Or Silver Branch. Even if you're not going to overcap on attack speed, Silver Branch is still good because it has 20% physical pen. Very good item. So like I said before, when you're thinking pen, now's the time to build pen here. You're going to do at least 2 of the 3 items we talked about. Silver Branch, Executioner's Kittens. So we have Silver Branch. The way you decide between these 2 is, do they have a ton of health items? Are they somebody like Cthulhu, whose ult gives them like that extra health? That's when you're going to get Kins. If you look at their defensive items, if you look at what they're building, and they're building huge health items like Stone of Gaia, if you see like the Pestilence, Stone of Gaia, like Genji's Guard, like that whole tree, like Shogun's Curse, like Genji's, I think all that gives you health and stuff with magical defense. Do you see these supports or a solo with a ton of health? Get Kin size. If not, you can normally go Executioner. Executioner, I think, takes precedence over Kin size a lot of the times. In most situations, you're better off doing this as long as you can hit your abilities and get those stacks and not get confused in a fight and start applying this like debuff to like random people. Like you want to like pick a target and burst them down. You're normally going to get this, and you're going to go Ferocious most of the time because you're trying to get that attack speed up. So you'll do this, you'll get Ferocious Executioner, and then at the end here, this is like your flavor item for more attack speed, more penetration, like whatever you want to do here. If you really want to like burst people down, you can get the Kin size here. This is basically like your pen build. You will shred most people doing this. Your Transcendence provides your power. It's a lot of attack speed. It's really fast. You're gonna get Lifesteal and sustain, right? And you're hitting like very consistently. You're not getting the huge crit numbers, but you're hitting consistent damage plus the yellow numbers on someone, right? So if we go over here, let's throw this. It'll just be very consistently applied damage to like solo lanes and tanks. You'll be able to shred through the front line. X-Ball's good at that. If you use his bolos and stuff, you'll be able to hit some people behind the front lines as you shred through them, right? This is just a very like simple hunter build with something like this, right? So let's talk about, and right now this build isn't I would say it isn't like the hot build or the most like effective. This is just something that you'll see where you can kind of just go this if you don't know what to do, or if you're trying to like feel a hunter out at the beginning, do something like this. You'll have the pen, you'll have some attack speed and stuff, but Transcendence isn't exactly like in right now, I would say. And then remember, when you do upgrade this, you're going to go the Death Temper more often than not because you have Silver Branch. Remember, you're trying to get over 2.5 to stack Silver Branch's passive, and you do that by getting the 30% attack speed Death Temper, and then if you can get those temper stacks, that's when you start stacking like the basic attack damage and stuff, right? The thing with this is Transcendence takes away a lot of your ability to with like the items that you're doing. You're not like getting that cap, right? If you don't have a god with a built-in attack speed stim, like Rama has an attack speed stim if he has his 2, or Artemis, right? When you press the button, it increases their attack speed. They're going to utilize a build like this a lot better because they can get over that 2.5, right? Versus this, where you're just trying to get close to it with the 30% attack speed with Death's Temper, and you're trying to get that 3.5% basic attack increase, right? So let's talk about a build that I think is a little bit better, which is like the Dev Gauntlet build right now. So with Dev Gauntlet, with 4 X-Ball, Death's Toll helps solve that mana problem, right? So it's okay to go Death's Toll. You're going to want to try and get that 30% attack speed Death's Temper towards the end, since you aren't going the other popular starter, which is Leather's Cow, right? which gives you attack speed and that extra 10%. So that's 17 there. But once you get the Hunter's Cal, it's 15 plus 20, right? So you're going to be at like 35% attack speed if you're near extra attack speed. So it's a 5% more than the Death Toll upgrade gives you. That's only 30%. So this will get you to that cap that you want. But if you do this, you do Dev Gauntlet, right? And you get Dev Gauntlet stacked. Now we're looking at the build again. Remember, we need to do pen of some sort. But like, what do we do here, and how do we do it? And let's talk about crit real quick. So there's a few ways to think of this. With a build like this, when you're building crit, I personally like to build, you can still build attack speed and crit, right? We talked about the 4 things: power, penetration, attack speed, and crit. It's hard to get all 4 of those in a build to like where you're min-maxing properly, right? If you're going to go crit, you normally want to either like go crit, and by go crit I mean like you're fully committing to the crit. If you fully commit to the crit, you need at least 2 crit items, and Deathbringer is one of them, period. So if you're going to do crit, Deathbringer is going to be in here. The problem with Deathbringer and a Hunter is it has no attack speed, right? So you're not going to be hitting those caps that you like of the 2.5 attack speed. You're going to be under that most of the time. So building something like Silver Branch, you're not going to get its passive, right? The reason you're building Silver Branch is for the 20% pen, like end of story. And the way you can do a build like this with Deathbringer included is you can do these 2 items. You can go Wind Demon as your third, as now you're starting to fulfill 2 requirements for a crit build: penetration and crit. Look at Wind Demon's passive. If you're building crit, you're almost always going to like try and include Wind Demon in it. So Wind Demon is not a lot of power, but it has attack speed 15% and 20% crit strike chance. But look at its passive. When you get a critical hit, you get an extra 10% physical penetration and an increase of your attack speed by 10% and movement speed. This helps you chase people down. It helps you like run around in fights, and it gives you 10% pen. So that's basically free pen plus crit. So you're starting to see what I mean by you need penetration, you need crit. Like, this is the route that we're going down. So what we're going to do here with Wind Demon is now you're going to finish off the pen, right? There's 2 ways to do this. At this point, you have 10% pen. You either finish off your crit or you finish off your pen. It's a little bit better of a power spike if you can do this, because now you have 30% pen. You have the 20% physical penetration from Silver Branch Bow, and you have the 10% when you get a crit. So look at this here, and you'll see when I get a crit, which isn't a lot. Okay, there, I got the crit. Now you can see right here, I get the increased attack speed. I get the increased penetration. So you'll see I'm hitting 199 now regularly, and 349. And it's regular enough, right? Just with 1 crit item early that you'll be able to do damage, right? So now that we have our penetration figured out with 30%, you could throw on your Deathbringer at the end. So you want your second crit item normally as soon as possible to get the crit more consistent, right? So now when you crit, you're hitting the 460s, and you're gonna cap this off with like Executioner, basically an Executioner or a Kin size at the end here. Executioner goes really well here. You're at the 1.85, so you're still under the 1.9 attack speed to be able to get something like Heavy Executioner if you want. It will get you up to that that pen that you want. Right now you're hitting those 730s, 760s, you know, when you're you hit them twice. And that's what I'm talking about with the Deathbringer. And this is consistent enough crit to do well. one more crit item would be normally ideal if you're going to go crit, right? But I just think the pen with an executioner is just like too important. So this is what I mean by, like, if you're going to go crit, like, go crit, right? So this is one school of thought. Hey, get the crit. This is similar to what that second build was, except he had like the fail knot, and he had the silver branch, and he didn't want the extra pen because he was already, you know, doing it with this. So this is definitely like, you'll chunk the tanks with a build like this 100%. You'll shred them pretty fast. Show you here. The other thing that you can do with a build like this, if you're having trouble with anti-heal, right? With healing, and you need to build anti-heal, you can forego something like the executioner at the end for a more consistent crit. And with a like a more consistent crit here, and with the 30% pen, and you get the shadow steal, right? So you could do something like this. You'll be able to, every single crit, you know, you're critting more often, right? It's like, that's like what, 4 crits in a row right there. 3, 4. Yeah, so 3, 4, like, you're normally going to be critting more often than not because now you have 3 crit items. And you're going to be applying anti-heal on any crit, right? So this is a solid build because you have 30% pen, you have lifesteal, you have the crit multiplier here with the passive of Deathbringer. You're able to crit consistently, you still have attack speed, right? And this is without Death's Toll being upgraded, right? Remember I said, hey, here, let's upgrade Death's Toll. Now we have a little bit more attack speed. You're going to get more basic damage when you stack it and stuff. You're going to chunk pretty hard with an upgraded starter item with a build like this, right? So we're hitting like a consistent 777 on these guys, right? So a build like this is also pretty solid. And you're able to normally sneak in, because you have the 10% here already, you can sneak this in here and get that consistent crit first and then do Silver Branch, or you're going to do Silver Branch, then Shadow Steal, right? That's kind of your order. You can kind of flip-flop these depending on what you need. If you need more pen early, do this. If the anti-heal's getting to you, do these two, right? And then you're going to get the Deathbringer towards the end here. The other thing you can do here is, if you're not going to fully commit to the crit, right? If you're not fully committing to the crit, and you want to see if you can try and stack Silver Branch Bow, what you can do is you can try and do something like a full attack speed crit flavor build is what I like to call it, right? So I call it like attack speed crit flavor. With a build like this, you can build like Atalanta's Bow, Wind Demon, Silver Branch. Where are you at? Silver Branch. And with something like this, this is normally when you're building the Hunter's Cowl. Whoops. Sorry, we'll do Leather's Cowl first, because you want to be you get the extra 10% attack speed on it, but you can do something like this, and then you can get something. You just sprinkle the crit in for the flavor, and then you're adding like you're still adding like an executioner at the end here, or a kin size, right? And you're still doing like a consistent attack speed. You're still getting some pen with like the Wind Demon. You have the Lifesteal with Atalanta's Dev Gauntlet Leather Cowl, right? And then you have this here. So let's do this. The attack speed isn't as high because you're not near allies, but I'll show you. Hold on, let's do and you normally build this with an attack speed stim god, right? So if you're able to do X-Ball doesn't utilize it as well because he doesn't have that. He's not like Rom, where he'll get that extra attack speed, or Artemis. But if you build something like this, you can normally hit the 2.5% attack because you're near your ally. See how I'm already at 2.38? And then if I can crit these guys, I'm now at the 2.47, and then you would like do your attack speed stim. On top of that, you'd be over capping and getting the Silver Branch stacks at this point, right? With a build like this. So this build is like attack speed, but also with penetration, right? You have 30% here plus the executioner or a kin size. Either will really like work at this point on this one. So just like look at the philosophy of how we're building here, right? Look at like what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish and what you need to be doing in lane, right? You do what the starter you pick is like going to kind of determine how you do the gameplay, like how you play the game. If you're doing Hunter's Cow, stick near your teammates, get that 10% extra speed stim, and then when you're near your allies, you're getting that extra 20%, like once you get Hunter's Cow, once you get it upgraded, right? So if you're doing Hunter's Cow, you need to be near your teammates to get the extra attack speed. So play with them, play off of them, or if you're alone, you get that movement speed to run away in case a gank happens, right? That's what Hunter's Cow does. Death's Toll is like you can stay in lane and farm consistently. And with these 3 items, Lifesteal, 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 it's going to be hard to bring you down unless they have anti-heal. You have Pen, Pen, and Pen here, right? All 3 of these are Pen. And oh, look, you'll have the crit. You have the crit enough to add flavor to it, right? And you can get rid of Atalanta's bow here, I would say. If you're having, like I said before, if you're having the issues, and you know you're going to need to build anti-heal, this is kind of how you change it up. I don't think you end up... okay, so you do. So this being 25% attack speed, right? This was only 20%, but then you get it if you get the kill, right? Like that was the big thing about Atalanta's bow, is if you get a kill, it really helps you skyrocket and like roll down a team. Shadow Steel should be consistent enough. It looks like it's being consistent, right? You're getting over at 2.5 already if you have a god with an attack speed stim. Like I said before, this build is for like the attack speed stim gods. You add the glyph here too, Ferocious Executioner. The glyph is the basic attacks, right? Your next basic attack marks an enemy god for 8 seconds. If you keep hitting them, each stack provides an extra 2% increased damage to like a single target. So when you come in here, you're already at 2.42 attack speed. You start hitting them with the crit to proc Wind Demon's thing. Now you're at 2.5. You're rolling with this. You're chunking, right? Especially with that Executioner's mark on them. You're chunking a lot. It's a lot of single target burst. So a build like this, a lot of sustain. Now you have anti-heal. If anti-heal is not a problem, get Atalanta's bow, because Atalanta's bow is going to give you that advantage when you get the kill, right? So let's go back to here. It's hard to show you because you're not near a teammate, and you're not going to hit that cap, right? Because you get only the increased movement speed because you're not near somebody. But if you do this, right, and you get that Atalanta's bow proc, look, I'm at 2.5 now because of Wind Demon passive and the Atalanta's bow proc, and I got a kill, right? So Atalanta's gives you that increased attack speed. It gives you like a lot, right? So you can run people down with a build like this, and with somebody with an attack stim, right? I'm sitting right at 2.5 right now. You add a god with an attack stim, you're then going to start getting the Silver Branch passive on top of that, which gives you power, right? So this is, I think, a good in-between on like trying to check all the boxes. Sure, you don't have Deathbringer to get the crits to hit really hard, but it's going to be consistent damage. You're going to be critting. You have anti-heal, right? Oh, I sold Exy for this. Sorry. Get Exy back here. It should be this. Whoops. And normally you would get Atalanta's Wind Demon, get your pen online, and then you do the Executioner or Kins. Exy's just so good right now with this, the Ferocious Executioner here. Get that pen, get that single target damage, right? Sitting right at 2.47, so a little bit. Add the attack speed stim, and you're like good to go on something like this, right? I guess you could, you know, if you're not having troubles with a tank, kind of what I showed you here with the Atalanta's bow Wind Demon, you could pop a Shadow Steel on the end of here. That wasn't doing too bad. you aren't going to get the extra pen from an Xe or kin size or something like that, so you're going to only be relying on the 30% here. Honestly, if you're going to do something like this, like I would probably throw the Deathbringer on the end more than anything else. Just to like really crit hard. If you're not going to try and get that Silver Branch attack speed, if you're power, if you're not trying to like get the passive for this, if you're just using Silver Branch for the 20%, doing something like Atalanta's Wind Demon Deathbringer, very solid right now. You'll get the attack speed, a little bit more attack speed when you get the kills with Atalanta's. It'll help you burst people down. You could forego Atalanta's. Remember, we can do the Wind Demon Shadow Steel here if you need the anti-heal. This is kind of how you switch it up right now, right? This is also a very solid build. So we have a couple different like schools of thought, right, on like how to build a hunter. I already showed you a few different ways. We talked about the build that this guy was doing as well, which I don't have up anymore. Hold on. Can you show me, please? Open the link. Open the link. Bro? What is going on, dude? I thought it was this. It is this. All right. Found it. This build chunks, right? It's in the same sort of vein with the fail knot and the alt. You're not capping, so you get most of your pen from here and here, right? This is a chunky build. I would do this. This, like I said, I'd retool and reorganize. I'd throw this out. If you're going to do something like this, maybe get the trans here, do the Aussie, then the Xe, Atalantas, then kins. Like you can build this like more on the end or even earlier. And one thing I did want to talk about is people do build kins early sometimes. There is another way to build the other build we talked. So if you're not going to do the crits, like we talked a little bit about the crit builds, I've seen people build like this right off the bat. That's if you're like going up against tanks and frontliners in arena and slash. You can build something like this right off the bat and really start doing damage to them. The problem is I just think other builds right now, like the two I just showed you, the like full attack speed one where if you have attack speed stim, right, that one, and then the crit build, like the crit variations, those two are just so good and like they're consistent. That's the thing. We're not pro players, right? We're just normal players, and you want consistency, and you want to be able to like throw your autos out and do damage. Those two builds, or like three builds that I showed you, you will just do consistent damage as the game goes on. You'll be able to like do things, do it right, and I think do enough damage consistently to people, and shred them, especially late game, right? Any of those builds will shred late game. Just make sure you know you're either like staying near somebody if you have the Hunter's Cow and stuff to get the extra attack speed and try and get as much damage off as possible. But I just think those two, in like lower level gameplay in an arena and slash, those things are solid. I did try out a build in arena today that did not stack anything. Doesn't feel great, but it's doable. One thing I did was I did do like a full crit build, and I tried to do a little bit of lifesteal with Atalanta's bow, and then you get a little bit with the Leather's Cow as well. So I would do Leather's Cow, Atalanta's bow. I did the Wind Demon, the Shadow Steel. I think I went Silver Branch. And then I think I either put a Deathbringer or a I might have put like Xe or something on the end here. I don't know. It was something like this. It was okay, but honestly, like hunters like to stack and get the stacks. It makes them powerful. And And I know that's hard in arena, but with somebody like X-Ball, you should be able to farm pretty effectively, like with his bolos and stuff like that, right? You should be able to do this, like angle it, get his bolos like going and stuff like that, and clear the wave pretty effectively with him, specifically. And in Slash you can stack. So if you're playing Slash, don't be afraid to stack. Get whatever item you need to. And sustain isn't as important in Slash because you can kind of get back into the lane pretty fast, so you don't necessarily need to go the Death's Toll. You can do the Hunter's Cow and do the team fight oriented thing and the extra attack speed and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I know you're like loading up a bunch of stuff here, and maybe like a Deathbringer would be better at the end here because you're not even going to get the attack speed anyway, right? And you're now critting consistently. You're basically like 499ing every time because you have 4. Like you have a 90% crit chance with a build like this because you don't have a stacking item, and this will make up for some of the problems that you face with not having to stack, right? But I don't think it's as good as some of these other items. You're going to lack Lifesteal, which, you know, without Dev Gauntlet, you're going to not be able to stay in fights and like kill multiple people. And if it gets like really tough, like, right, you will be able to kill people, see? But you won't be able to sustain in the fights or fight smart and like recoup your health and stuff like that. Or fight from a backline and like stay in the fights. You'll find yourself backing a lot more and not really being in the game as much because you're getting poked out or whatever. You just don't have enough health and you don't have enough sustain for it. So I would trade in one of these 3 items. You normally always have to keep this. It's either gonna be this or this. You trade in for like a Dev Gauntlet or something, or like I said before, get rid of the Deathbringer, and get the stacking item, and then just do like the attack speed and stuff. So that's the basics on hunters. I know it's a lot, but I hope I was able to teach you kind of the philosophy of how to build with hunters and like where certain things should go. You should always see a penetration item and like start seeing penetration in one of these 2, right? One of these 2 slots, and then your penetration should normally be online by this slot, right? So have something here, which this does give, Wind Demon does give 10. It looks a little sus right now, but Wind Demon does give 10, remember. And then if you're doing other builds like the Transcendence build, right? So you do Transcendence and like something like Aussie, right? Aussie does give flat pen, so it looks a little odd when you start doing something like this. This is 15, right? And then eventually you'll build your Wind Demon here, right? Wind Demon. Then you're finishing off your pen. So your pen should be online at least by this slot. If you get pen here, it's like a little too late. Your power curve is going to be like a little weird. At least get it online, and you're finishing either with like extra pen here, extra crit here, depending on like what you're doing. I have seen builds where you just throw in the Wind Demon for that extra random crit to get that passive. And I have seen people build something like this, and then at the end here they're doing the Xe or the Kins, right? At the end here, actually Kins might be even better. Oh, hello. At the end here, you have a lot of power with the Transcendence, right? That Silver Branch is at 100 stacks. What the balls? Like, I know, I get it, but can I undo that? Okay. So yeah. So a build like this is also okay, right? Okay, cool. It wore off. Once again, consistent. You're doing that extra 65 per hit with the kin size. Somebody with a lot of health, you're going to chunk them with something like this, right? With a build like this. And then you're getting that random crit in here, right? Not necessarily for the crit, it's for the passive. And it normally lasts long enough that you'll get another random crit to apply it again. So that's your 1 crit, right? Oh, there's the other crit. It's applied again. Oh, there's more crits, right? Like the way crit works now, you can throw in if you're going to throw in 1 random crit item, make it Wind Demon on a hunter. So you can build a totally like pen based build with something like this: lifesteal, power, right, attack speed, and lifesteal here, right? So you have your lifesteal with these items, you have a lot of power with this. Throw in a random, it'll be 10% pen with this, plus something like Kins or even Xe at the end there, right? You're going to be doing like really well with a build like this as well. So yeah, I hope you kind of see the philosophy on how to build a hunter and like why people build certain builds. You'll see pros do all kinds of weird random things, and that's unique because of A, they're playing Conquest, B, they're playing Conquest in a 5v5 scenario, and they're working diligently with their team to do certain things. Adding Fail Not to X-Ball's ult, right? There's a reason X-Ball's getting it. It's because when your ultimate has finished casting, your next ability or basic attack that damages an enemy god marks them. It increases you and your allies' chance to get a critical strike by 10%, right? With X-Ball's ult, that's a good like team fight initiator and a team fight tool. So you're going to use it, and that will proc, and you're working with your team to do certain things, right? So if you just want to be consistent though with the majority of hunters, build something like these couple builds that I showed you here. And you'll start finding success, and then you can start venturing out more into experimental builds, min maxing, optimal builds. Those builds that you saw earlier, which is this. Oh, hello. So these builds that you saw earlier, whoops. I hope it shows up. Those builds that you saw earlier. Hello. Google Chrome, where you at, dog? Well, those builds that you saw earlier was somebody like min-maxing, working with their team, trying certain things out, very situational for certain things, right? I did like the blue build that he showed. It does chunk, it does min-max, like I was talking about. You're right at that 1.9 cap, so using Ferocious Executioner plus the 10% of pen from Fail Not plus the anti-heal from Shadowsteel, it works really well. It is an optimal build, so that blue build is solid. But like I said before, if you want to be more consistent, build things like this. I showed you like 3 or 4 builds today that you can build on almost any hunter, depending on like if they have an attack speed stim or not, and be successful and be able to do what you need to do as a hunter in the game. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this was informative. I know these are long. I know it's like rough to listen to me talk for an hour on like a hunter, but if you're willing, if you're learning, if you're looking to learn, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to sit down, help out. That's what we do in our Discord all the time. We just go over things like this. We talk to people and like help them learn the game a little bit more. So this is more informational learning. Like if you're hungry and you want to learn, like sit down, reach out to me, reach out to other people. The link in our Discord is below if you want to join the Smite dojo. This is what we're here to do. We're here to be that one-on-one. Hey, I have a question. Why does this happen? I'm trying to get better at the game. How do I do this? And we're here to kind of help you guys do that. So yeah, thanks for following. Thanks for watching this long. If you did, if you watched the whole hour, like leave a comment below. Be like, I watched the whole hour, and like, I don't know, I'll give you a hug or something. it's a lot. It's a long time to listen to me, but I hope it helped you understand like why hunters are the way they are, why they want to build certain things, why those builds matter, and like how to break them down into like thinking about, okay, what am I going to build? How do I start a game? Why do I start this way? How do I get my attack speed up? Am I going for an attack speed over cap? Am I going for crit? You know, like what am I gonna do? Am I gonna sell out on the crit, or am I just gonna add the crit as a little bit of flavor? So I'll get like a Wind Demon, Shadowsteel, or Atlanta's that still has the attack speed, so I can stay on that attack speed build, right? If you think of it that way, you'll start getting better at the game, and you'll be able to figure out what you need to figure out. So thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and hey, have a great day.